Show from the Citizens Bank studio as we continue to celebrate so many wonderful people across this great state who are working so hard to make this such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, listen, in the first part of the show, we're going to be visiting with James Skrmetta. If you haven't heard my shows with him before, you haven't heard his show, and we'll talk more about it here in a second. You're going to love this. And in the second half of the show, we're going to have Singing River Health Talk. We've had 3 incredible conversations, and today we have another terrific conversation with a doctor from Singing River Health System. Looking forward to doing that in the second half. So without any further ado, let's move over to my old friend, James Skrmetta, and just say good morning. How you doing, James?
Morning. How's it going?
You know what? I'm so thrilled to have the face of the New Orleans Saints franchise on my show. I mean, it's a thrill, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, it's an honor to be here, especially before Singing River Health Talk, the main event. So glad y'all could get me in here.
Hey, listen. I really want to encourage people who may not be paying attention to you on your YouTube channel. You've been joining others on their podcast. Your voice is getting out there. Your number of views is going up. Your number of subscribers is going up. Your unique approach, man, it's a little bit, there's a cockiness to it. There's some humor to it, but what's really driving it, and let me tell you what, James, I listened carefully. I have for a couple of years now. You've gotten better and better at something that you had going into that, and that is you have a really good eye for football. You have a good sense of what's going to work and what's not going to work. And you're like planning your show these days in that confidence, and it works, and it's fun, and your personality comes out. And we'll tell people specifically what you're doing, but I could go on, but it's been a blast for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I think as media shifts, I think what people want, what viewers want has shifted. I think if you watch some of the bigger networks, some of the bigger programming, I just don't think they're less of like a sports talk now and more of almost like a reality TV show. So I think people do care about what's actually happening on the field and like the actual sports analysis. And so that's what I try and do at least. And I think it's filled a gap.
Hey, what's interesting? Okay, so let's go through it for people who haven't watched. I want you to tell them how to find you. But what's unique about what you're doing is usually I would say 99% of the time, it's reacting to another video. It could be a local video. It could be a national video. And what's interesting about it, and this is why I think it makes it so good, is that you're not preparing. You're literally reacting to the video as you see it. So it's not something that you watched 1,000 times and wrote 1,000 notes. You're going into this, seeing it with your listeners for the first time and then reacting to it. You're stopping and reacting. You're really, really good at that, James. I don't know where that skill set came from, but it's there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the show works, or the style works, because it simulates like a conversation. It simulates not even really a debate. We kind of got out of the hot take world and like the very like argumentative world in sports media. And now I look at it as just giving the viewer this super linear format. Like the video takes care of itself, right? Like they know how long it's going to be because we're watching a video. So it can only be as long as that video. And the topics kind of organically happen. A lot of shows or podcasts, they'll have their bulleted format and their talking points, but this is much more of an organic conversation. And at the end of the day, like that's what I've always wanted to do. I've always just wanted to talk sports and watch sports, talk sports with my friends. And my show is very similar to the conversation that you would have in the living room watching a game with your friends or out at a sports bar or whatever. It's just letting the conversation take you where it is. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's a niche. I don't see a lot of other people doing it, but it works for me.
One of the things that makes it work, besides everything I just said, you apparently have watched a lot of movies and TV. You obviously have a good memory. And I'll give you an example. If you're watching, I can't remember a specific example. I'm just going to make something up. But if you're watching a video and somebody's got a weird shirt on, you'll stop the video and say, "Where did he get that shirt?" It reminds you of, and you say something off the top of your head that goes back a ways that people can really relate to. Where did he get those sunglasses? Where did he get that hair? Why are they standing there? That's the dumbest place to stand. Where did all that noise come from? But it's not just observing something unique about the video like that, but it's always saying something like it's like. I think that's an interesting kind of angle to what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I used to watch a ton, like growing up, the Braves games were always on TV. And so we would always get the local broadcast. And if you watch like hockey or even baseball, local broadcasts are always better than the national broadcast. And what makes a local broadcast good are those like small anecdotes or the small, just kind of off the cuff things that really have nothing to do with the game, or it brings that like personal element. So I think a lot of that has bled over of just some kind of, observational, I don't want to say observational humor, but there is some of that baked into it along with, I guess, sports analysis. But like I said, if you were talking with your friends at a sports bar and one of them is wearing a crazy shirt or doing something, standing a certain way, like you're going to pick up on it immediately, so it is, yeah. I mean, we try and blend a little bit of humor in as well, for sure, with things like that happen.
Hey, is there a possibility of getting credentialed by the Saints at some point?
So I've gone back and forth on that. So I think what makes the show good, and what makes just not even my show, but just independent content creators good, is that they are not connected to an organization, right? Like I know a lot of radio stations here get blasted because they're attached to the Saints. So people think, well, they can't criticize them, they can't do this, they're being told what to say. So I think part of what makes it work is that I am outside. I am kind of an outsider looking in versus sitting there in the front row asking the questions during these interviews and stuff. So right now I'm okay with not, but yeah, I mean, I think it's something that could happen in the future.
I think it's a good point. As a former publisher of the Times-Picayune and NOLA Media Group, I know what that call can look like. And, the Saints, whether, they admit it or not, whether the people who cover the Saints or not admit it, there is some control. And, if they feel like you're off the reservation, they can affect your access immediately. And they can be brutal about it. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and there's also like a speed element too, where if I'm actually at whatever it is, practice or training camp or the media scrums or whatever, then it's like an extra step to my process to where it could affect the speed or any of that, how fast I can get it out to the viewers. So yeah, I mean, it's a fine line to walk, and especially in today's world where everything's so transparent and like, reporter. I mean, we just saw on ESPN Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James kind of getting into it courtside, and that wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. Columnists or op-eds or whatever, they stayed in their bubble. Like food critics stay anonymous for a reason. They don't. That mix is kind of dangerous. So yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely concern with access.
One of the things that works is that you come from the perspective of a fan. You go to the games as a fan. So you're not someone who's running around on the sideline, up in the press box, at that perch. You're a fan, and you're coming at it from the point of view of a fan, a passionate fan, a knowledgeable fan for sure. But that actually gives you a little bit of more connection, is what I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've done the newspaper side of things. I've done the reporter side of things, and sitting up in the press box versus sitting in the stand in today's world, I think our viewers want that. They want who's sitting in the stands, who's on their fourth Crown and Coke, eating hot dogs. Like, they want that. They don't want the, buttoned up, perfect written editorial the next day. They want to know what's happening there. What's it look like to walk to the stadium? What's it look like to eat the concession, be with the fans? So yeah, I think that is definitely a good point or a good part of the show as well.
The other thing is you actually have a full-time job. So if You have a way of doing this show in your spare time, and that would certainly get in the way of that. So when you say about a tight process, you really do mean it. You have to do a lot of balancing, don't you?
Yeah, and going to school, getting my MBA at Tulane right now. So that's just kind of how I have always operated. Like, I have to have these very diligent, efficient processes. And if I can stay in that diligent, efficient process, we're all good to go. And the style of the show, with it being the reactions and that, I don't need to prep, I don't need to edit, I don't need to do any of that stuff on the back end or the front end. So I can get in. If the video is 30 minutes long, it took me probably 30 minutes and 10 seconds to do it, because I'm hitting start, I'm letting it rip, and I'm hitting end, and then I'm publishing. So, and then with the help of machine learning and AI,
that's a confident. Yeah, I was going to say that's a confident, capable thing to be able to do. Hey, we're going to get James's reaction to where the Saints are now. Lots of changes happening in the offseason. Got a draft coming up. He's reacting to all this stuff. We'll see you more with James Skrmetta after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Like I said, in the second half of the show, coming up in the next segment, Singing River Health Talk, Dr. William Hughes is going to be joining us. He's a board-certified urologist, and we're going to spend the second half of the show talking about the work that he does. A lot of high tech involved in that, incidentally. We're chatting with my friend. Listen, I do mean friend because I've known him for most of his life, James Skrmetta. Families know each other really well. He's from Biloxi now. He lives in New Orleans, but a lot of you know him. His family's well known here. He's got this terrific YouTube channel. We didn't say how people could find your channel, James. Let's tell them that real quick.
Yeah, just go to YouTube, put my name in, James Skrmetta, Skrmetta. Videos should pop up pretty immediately. You can expect, I would say, 2 videos a day. We usually do one at noon, one at 6-ish for lunch and dinner viewing, but that's the easiest way to find it.
So you've been doing a lot of reacting. We got a new head coach. We got a new coaching staff coming together. You know, they've made some moves in free agency, not nothing super earth shattering, but the reality is we're moving forward. You spend a lot of time looking at the numbers, statistics, and otherwise. You know where the Saints kind of fit in. You know where our new head coach, his strengths and weaknesses were, what his path was as an offensive guy. What are the kind of things you're talking about these days as we head toward the draft?
Well, the draft is huge. I mean, the Saints are in a situation where they're trying to trim older players, older contracts. The easiest way to get out of cap problems is to get younger and cheaper. The easiest way to get younger and cheaper is the NFL draft. So the Saints have the 9th overall pick. They have more draft picks this year than they've had in a long time. Usually the Saints don't have a ton of draft capital. They'll have 3 or 4 picks, but now the Saints have a tremendous amount of picks. So they have to hit it. They have to nail it. This is a fascinating draft, just not only as a Saints fan, but just in the NFL in general. You don't have your normal top-heavy quarterbacks. There's depth at every position. The Saints need every position. So those 3rd round, 4th round picks, usually you would change the channel, do something else. But now we are hoping and assuming those 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round picks for the Saints not only are going to be players but impact players their rookie season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You see when you look at some of the everybody's got their take on how this is all going to play out. But clearly, when we get to number 9, the Saints have often said we're going to take the best player. There's going to be a lot of good players on the boards at 9. When they get to that 2nd pick, there's still going to be a lot of good players on the board at that 2nd pick. The Saints have had a history of trading up, and so what they've done is ultimately draft less players and kind of trying to build quality for now. It will be interesting to see if they do it this year, because they really do, as you pointed out, want to get more youth. And so will they be aggressive in that way? What's your gut tell you?
Well, it's fascinating just from a Saints standpoint, because the team, if you look at the last couple of years, the Saints, they've had a core of their true impact playmakers already established. So they're drafting supplemental players, whether it's on the defensive line or a cornerback or a safety or an offensive lineman or a developmental player. But now they can go in a bunch of different directions at huge positions. I mean, right now at 9, if Ashton Genty is there, the running back from Boise State, the Saints could take him. So you're taking your franchise running back, a very popular player. You could also take a top wide receiver if Ted McMillan's there. You could take Mason Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan. Get a guy in the middle of your defensive line. And now, over the last 48 hours, the big rumor is that they're going to take Shedeur Sanders, which would be the first time the Saints have taken a quarterback in the first round since Archie Manning in 1971. So the idea that the Saints could go, they could go defensive lineman. Yeah, they could go linebacker. Or they could do something they haven't done in 50 years and take their franchise quarterback 9th overall. So whichever direction they go, it's going to be huge news and a huge moment for Saints fans. I think right now my gut would say they're going to take Shedeur Sanders.
Hey, so look, when you look at his pro day, there was some written about he wasn't perfect. So what's your read on him? When you're reacting to what people are saying, what are you saying?
I think Shedeur, if I'm going to comp him out, I would say he's basically a similar player to Tua down in Miami. Shedeur is hyper accurate all over the field. Not a huge arm, good enough arm. So he's not going to push the ball like Josh Allen does, but you're not going to be concerned that he can't make a throw. Athletically, he's not a mobile quarterback. He may escape the pocket if it's given to him, but once he gets past the line of scrimmage, you're looking at him getting 4 or 5 yards, ducking out of bounds, sliding. So he's a great processor. He understands defenses. I would categorize him as a high floor, high ceiling kind of guy. You could at the top end, any quarterback. I mean, we've seen with Tom Brady, Brock Purdy, you never really know the ceiling. Like a guy in the 7th round could end up being an MVP. An undrafted guy could end up being, Kurt Warner. Like who knows? But I would comfortably put Shedeur somewhere in that Tua, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith kind of territory. Now, the question is, for a position that important, if that is what you're getting, do you lock that up for however long at pick number 9? I think in today's NFL, you kind of have to.
Well, it's going to be interesting, man, because I read on X today about it, and you also have this element about potential noise that comes with him. Now, is that noise in the way that it's negative, or is that noise in the way that it's going to bring massive amounts of attention to the Saints? Is there an element of him that's a prima donna? I'm not sure that there is, but put the primetime kind of label into the mix. It will make things really interesting if that were the case, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit that's overblown. I mean, in today's world, every player has a brand, every player has a voice. They have their own noise, I guess. I do think it's very over discussed whenever people say oh, well, now the Saints will sell all these tickets and they'll do all this. And it's the Saints have had a season ticket sellout for going on 20 years now. They're not having trouble filling the seats. The NFL isn't having trouble getting eyeballs on a product, right? They dominate the ratings. I don't care. I could be playing quarterback with you on the offensive line and we're going to sell out the stadium. It's just, they're not worried about that. So, and Deion just signed an extension at Colorado. I don't think Kellen Moore's 36 years old. The Saints aren't getting Shedeur to then get Deion in the building. It's a separate thing. I understand if you watched Colorado, it does look like the Sanders show, but I don't for a second think that it would impact any of the operations with the Saints if they drafted Deion.
Deion Sanders just signed a big contract. And I wondered what was going to happen with him, but he seems to be happy in Colorado.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go. I was surprised too. They paid him. I think at a certain point, it is hard to turn it down. I thought he might be interested in leaving once that group of players left with Travis Hunter and Shedeur and Shiloh. I thought maybe he'd be interested in going to somewhere like Florida State or a bigger program, but he's built something good at Colorado. I think expectations are relatively low at Colorado. They're not expecting him to turn out national championships. They're pretty cool with a bowl game or 10 wins or whatever. So he's got a pretty good spot there. They were good last year. His rosters weren't perfect, but he did get results. I was kind of down on Deion after his first year, but last year I think it was a pretty good job. So yeah, I think I'm not saying he'll be there forever, but I think he's happy there.
We got 2 minutes left, James. I'm just curious as we go into this season, what's your mood?
I'm thrilled. Like, I think it's a great time to be a Saints fan. There's a lot of doom and gloom around the Saints here. I think just around, fans love to be miserable. They love to trauma bond for whatever reason. I'll put it like this: the year before Sean Payton, Saints are 3-13. Woe is me, one of the worst franchises in NFL history. Imagine if you knew what was coming, right? Like, everything looks lost, but imagine what's right there. I think we are right there. I think we're right on the front of another great decade or so of the Saints. We are finally trimming the older players, finally trimming the cap in 2027. Right now, we have the most cap in the NFL. Next year, we're above the cap. So we're good to go cap-wise. By 2027, we'll have the youngest roster in the NFL. I said this on my show, and I'll say it here. I believe when all is said and done, you can write this down. When all is said and done, I think Kellen Moore will go down as the greatest coach in Saints history. I think he will be seen as a better coach than Sean Payton. What does that mean? .630 win percentage, better than 9-8 playoff record, and of course, a Super Bowl ring. So I've got high hopes. I'm thrilled for where we're going this season. 7, 8, 9 wins. Moving forward, we're good to go. Trust in Kellen Moore. I love him like a brother.
Yeah, I know you do. I enjoy listening to that for sure. Hey, listen, it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you, my friend. You're doing a great job. I came from media. I can tell a star when I see one, and you are becoming the face of the franchise. And I pray and I hope for you that you continue to have all the growth that you're having and even more, because it's going to catch on. It's going to be bigger than you even imagine.
I hope so. I hope that comes to fruition for sure. I appreciate y'all having me on, man. Anytime I'm happy to do it.
You bet, my friend. You bet. This has been James Skrmetta. Go look him up on YouTube. Y'all think you'll be glad you did. Singing River Health Talk next. We'll see you after the break.